Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to give you some tips that I've accumulated from Otherworld Battle to make your experience not only better for yourself, but better for other people. Because in fact, believe it or not, there is a way for us to help each other out in Otherworld Battle, and it has to do with some of the annoying daily and weekly and seasonal tasks. So we'll get to that in just a bit, but first I want to offer up some advice on the Otherworld Battle shop buffs, because I've had a lot of questions about this, so I wanted to kick off the video with this. People have been PMing me and whatever, messaging me and asking me what are the best buffs to buy for Otherworld Battle. And the reason why this is important and why you can't ignore the buffs completely is because there are seasonal rewards for buying a certain number of buffs. If you take a look here and you scroll down, it says purchase Otherworld Battle buffs 4 times or more, and that's strategist number 4. There's a strategist 1, 2, and 3, and there's also a strategist 5, as you can see here. So yes, you will need to buy buffs. I don't believe you need to. You do also need to level up Otherworld Battle buffs 20 or more, 25 times or more. So you do need to engage with the buffed system. So let me go through and highlight basically. I don't think there are that many good buffs. I think there are at least 5 good buffs, which is really good because you only need to buy 5 anyways. So let's get into it. I think Provoke is really good. You can't actually see the stats here because I've already purchased them, but I think the 3 that I purchased already, no surprise here, I think these 3 are good. I think Provoke is really good because it applies an effect that is very easy to manipulate. So when your HP is below 70%, you kick this off and apply it to enemies and provoke them, right? For 1.5 seconds, they're taunted and they attack you. The cooldown time is also very important. A lot of the buffs have very long cooldowns of 20 or 25 seconds. This one being only 15 seconds means that if you slap it on a character like Carnage or Magic or even like Wolverine, this will probably trigger twice. It'll trigger once when their HP initially goes down, then it'll go down to 1. They'll have the immortality as long as you have the artifact. They'll heal back up, and in that time, 15 seconds pass, and then it triggers Provoke again. So Provoke, I think, is one of the best buffs. It needs to be used very strategically. More testing is needed to see exactly which characters is it best for. Is it characters that can trigger multiple times, that have healing and stuff like that? Is it characters who have a very large penalty associated with attacking them, like reflect characters? We don't know who it's best for just yet, but I think it's a very good buff to check out. Ignore Dodge is a very straightforward buff. It's very difficult to get Ignore Dodge on your characters unless they have it built into their kit. So I think being able to give a character Ignore Dodge is really good. This is also a really good buff to upgrade because it goes up by 5% each time. So if we go to set team and we see here my team here, I've already upgraded my dodge to level 2, which is 10%, and I'm actually going to equip it again, upgrade it again to 15%. I don't know why it's equipped on Colossus. It really shouldn't be. I need to move this over to, I believe I had it on Jean or I had it on Carnage. But yeah, this is very, very good for taking out Spider-Man, especially because he has that insane dodge. So it's definitely something to consider upgrading at least to 10 or 15% because it really adds a lot. So I really like the Ignore Dodge one. And then Remove Purification. Very straightforward. 50% chance when you're attacking to remove the all debuff effect. And every team who has Wasp on it is running this effect. So unless you're fighting teams that don't feature Wasp, you should use this Remove Purification buff. If you're fighting teams without Wasp, then you don't need this buff because leaderships do not work in Otherworld Battle, but passives do. Team passives do. All allies passives, they do work. So Wasp, if you see Wasp on a team like is on mine and like on most top tier teams, they're using Wasp. That means they will have access to the debuff removal, the all debuff removal, which means that buff, this buff right here, might be one of the best because you cleanse it, which is huge. If you cleanse it, it means you can now debuff them. You can stun them, paralyze them, time freeze them, snare them, etc. So yeah, I think that might be the best in the game. That might be the best Otherworld Battlefield buff to buy in the game right now, but there are a couple of other good ones. Now, we're going to skip through some of the bad ones. I think all of the ones that have buff or debuff in them here are bad. So buff effect increase, buff effect decrease, debuff effect increase, debuff effect increase. I think they're all bad. The fear one is bad, the defense decrease is bad, and the attack decrease is bad. So all 6 here, or all 7 that are on the screen right now, I think they are just straight up bad. They have very low effects. Their effects can be their effects can be 100% canceled and ignored by Wasp's debuff effect, and they're just not very good. However, there are a couple of good ones. So I think selective removal, basically the three that are far right. I think selective removal, HP increase, and potentially natural enemies, maybe not, are good. So we'll talk about them now. So selective removal, 50% chance when you're attacking, apply to enemies, remove all debuffs. The first one is remove the absorption physical. That's kind of cringe, whatever, it doesn't matter. But removing all debuffs, remember we talked about how good that is? Yeah, you want that. So this one has a 25-second cooldown, but you definitely want this on your team. I'm actually going to pick this up right now. I think this is a very good effect. Giving 2 characters the ability to remove the all debuff removal effect is way too powerful. Basically negating Wasp's passive and allowing you to then apply debuffs is just huge. That can honestly be the tide that turns the entire battle. So yeah, that one's really good. The HP increase, very self-explanatory. You just give a character more HP. Obviously, this scales insanely well with characters like Hulk, but this is also really good for other hard-to-kill characters like Jean and Carnage, etc., who you want to be sticky. And this can also be really good for Reflect characters who otherwise don't have access to enough HP. So maybe you have like a really well-built Emma Frost, but you're like, man, I can't use Emma Frost in Otherworld battle because her HP is too low. She gets one-shotted. Why don't you pick up the HP increase buff, get it to level 3 or level 4, level 5, and you'll be laughing to the bank, right? Because you'll have an extra 50% HP. That's huge. Now, natural enemies is a little bit more it's a little bit more subjective. But if you know you're fighting players who have the ignore damage effect, then you can punish them by dealing more damage to them. And just activating a flat 10% increase that has no cooldown is very, very strong. So yeah, that's basically those are basically the ones that I like. So the theme is essentially you don't want to choose buffs that have low impact effects, and you also don't want to choose buffs that have a very short effect with a very long cooldown, because chances are you're not going to get to apply it more than 2 times. So you can see here a 3-second effect that's not very strong, and it has a 25-second cooldown. That's just garbage. You can use that for 6 seconds every 60 seconds. That's just terrible, right? So stuff like that, or stuff like this where it activates a 2-second buff here with a 15-second cooldown, that's just garbage, right? Some of these buffs, 1-second buff, a 1-second buff with an 18-second cooldown. And then again, if you're applying that fear buff, you have to know that they don't have the cleanse active, right? Because if they have the cleanse active, then the fear just completely negates, and then you're waiting another 18 seconds for it to trigger again. So that's why I basically avoid these ones. They're just pretty bad. But yeah, those 5 should be good for you, and buying those 5 means that you will get both of the challenge rewards. So there you go, you get the seasonal challenge rewards, you get a bunch of runes, and then you get a bunch of levels on your Otherworld battle pass, which is quite nice. And then as far as where you apply them on your team, that's really going to depend on how you build your team. As much as I like the ignore dodge effect, this team right now, when we'll talk about team composition just a little bit, this team right now maybe isn't the best for what I'm setting up here. But I think what I want, because the most powerful effects where you remove stuff like that, I think I want these on the characters that are going to last the longest, right? I don't really want to give an HP bonus to like Wasp. I think that's kind of dumb. But I do want Jean and Carnage to have the most because they're going to be attacking first. They're going to be attacking the most. If they can trigger the remove a debuff effect early, that can just completely turn the tide in my favor. So yeah, maybe the max HP is best to have on Colossus. I don't know. Or maybe it's best to have on Magic. The ignore dodge on Magic is fine, to be honest. Let's equip that on Magic. But let's see the HP. Oh, sorry. Let's see the HP one here. We can level this up to... Oh, okay. It doesn't go up by 10% each time, but it goes up to 17. I'm actually curious what else it goes. Then it goes up to 24. Okay, I'll do it one more time to see. And then it goes up to 31 for level 4. So that's still very nice, right? If you level this up a few times, let's see level 4. Okay, and then let's see level 5, because we do need to upgrade. Okay, it can keep going. Wow. It can keep going. It goes past level 5. So at level 5... I'm giving Colossus an extra 38% HP. That's not bad. And that's going to go up to 45% when I get it to level 6. Maybe these go up to level 10. That's huge. And you do need to, by the way, you do need to, let me save this. You do need to level up at least one of your buffs because, again, it is part of a seasonal reward. And you can see there, pretty powerful rewards there. You want to get those so that you I think there's more though, but anyways, moving on to the teams here. From what I've understood from Otherworld Battle, and I covered this in the other video, the battlefield effects don't matter for the most part. Some people are afraid to use Hulk because he takes a lot more damage, but otherwise, using Jean is not a punishment. Using using her and using other universals like Thanos, if they're built well, is not a punishment. But one thing you do need to know, and I've already mentioned it in the video, leaderships do not work in Otherworld Battle, but support buffs do work, right? Support buffs that are either on the character's tier 2 or 4-star passive, or buffs that are on the character's uniform that apply to all allies or some allies, those will all work. So Colossus's damage reduction, that does work. Wasp's increase HP and debuff removal effect, those also work. Agent Venom, if you bring him along with Carnage, his artifact works for Carnage, and himself, of course, and then his other effects for symbiote allies also apply. Absolutely. The physical damage leadership does not apply, but everything else does apply. So you do need to take that into consideration when you're fighting certain teams. If you see a team that has, Colossus and Valkyrie, then that means that your villains are going to do very little damage, etc. You can potentially build a team where you're stacking 2 or 3 or 4 buffs, and then you're just using 1 or 2 characters to carry you. That is a possibility. It may not work depending on your builds for those characters, right? You have to have very stacked builds on your strength characters, like the strong ones that are going to carry you. But for example, knowing that I have very high builds on Jean and Carnage, I could swap Magic out for Valkyrie or Shuri or some other buff, and then I could just hope that Carnage and Jean carry me throughout the whole fight. And that is a legitimate, potentially good, viable strategy. And you do see that from some teams. But yeah, as it stands right now, the battlefield effects do nothing. So that sucks. But one thing to note about the team compositions, you obviously want to put your best characters in the top 5, but their position matters. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. For winning, if you want to win the most, what I've seen is that putting your strongest characters at the front actually doesn't work, because characters actually start off the fight using a lot of auto attacks, and it takes them a few seconds, usually like about 5 seconds, to start ramping into their skills. And what happens is the characters that come in next, that come in 3rd and 4th and 5th, either because of the timer or because a character at the beginning dies, they end up doing their skills right away. So rather than having Jean doing a bunch of stupid auto attacks and taking a long time, if Jean comes in later, she's gonna immediately start with one of the big skills that she has. And also, the character coming in later, even if you weren't able to remove debuffs, if enough time has passed, you may be jumping in on that window where the debuff removal is active. It isn't active, right? Because if you take a look at the debuff removal, and this is something that you do need to, there's a bit of luck involved. I'm not going to lie to you, but if you take a look at the debuff removal on Wasp, it has a window of opportunity. I always forget Wasp is not a tier 3 character. She's a transcended character. But if you take a look at her passive here, so it's a 20-second buff effect with a 25-second cooldown. So if your characters, if the first 2 characters, your first line of defense, if they're lasting about 18 seconds before they die, and then your big hitters come in, they're coming in right at the end of this effect. So if Spider-Man jumps in 20 seconds into the battle, guess what? He's going to web up all of the enemies. His webbing will apply, and other effects will apply: stun, snare, paralysis, mind control, whatever. That's huge. That can completely turn the tide of battle, because not only will the characters that you're attacking get stunned or whatever, get crowd controlled, but any characters that are coming in after them as you're one-shotting or whatever, they'll also get crowd controlled because the debuff effect is still down for 2 or 3 more seconds. So yeah, consider the layout of your team as far as that is concerned. If your characters are getting blown up right at the beginning, it may not be a viable strategy, but I have seen a lot of high-level accounts and accounts that are at the top. I've seen them front-loading their teams, but I've also seen them back-loading their teams, like this, where they put all the strongest ones at the back and they put all of the weak ones at the front. So I would experiment with both of those ideas. Obviously, if you just have 5 or 4 really strong PvP characters, just slap 4 of them on with Wasp. That also does really, really well. But the other tip I wanted to leave you with is one that will actually help other players. So there is a really annoying daily task, and it's also, I believe, a weekly and a monthly or seasonal daily task where you have to win with 3 or more of your characters surviving. And then there's another one where you have to win with all of your characters at 70% HP or higher. Both of those challenges are stupid. Both of those challenges are not only stupid, but they're also very difficult to do if you're at a very high level, right? If you look at the opponents that I'm getting here, I'm getting opponents that are completely stacked to the teeth. So even if I'm going to win these battles, which I could win these battles, I'm not going to win with, most of my team 100% intact or 70% intact. You can look at my win rate here. It's not very good. My win rate is 56%, and that's on the high end, to be honest. The highest I've seen from win rates from players is like 70 tops, and usually players aren't above 65%. So the win rates are very close to a coin flip, which makes those tasks, those daily tasks, very difficult. And if these daily tasks are very difficult for players with stacked accounts like mine and like these guys, then they're also really difficult. Look, this guy has a losing win rate, Then of course these tasks are going to be difficult for the average player. So here's what I need you guys to do. And we've done this before in Timeline Battle to make it easier. After you've done your dailies, set a bad team. Straight up, just set a bad team. This is going to affect your ranking. This is going to drop your score as players attack you and as they win, right? You're going to get a lot of losses here instead of wins. You can see my team has been good defensively. I've gotten a lot of wins, but I'm going to start seeing a lot of red -35 defeats. But that's okay. I'm only going to do it for like an hour or two at the very end of the day when players are trying to get those dailies. And I'm basically going to allow them to get their daily complete by beating up on my garbage team. If everybody does this, then everyone will be able to complete their dailies very easily. However, I understand that not everybody wants to do this. Some people want to stay competitive forever. So the only other option I have for you, the only other suggestion besides, getting the community together to help each other out, is basically just to leave it on autoplay. That's my suggestion to you. If you're struggling with those dailies, just slap on some autoplay. Don't pay for more daily rewards. You don't need to collect rewards to get the dailies done. Just slap on the autoplay, let it go for 20, 30 battles, and come back to your phone and hope that you manage to get a win in there at some point that was going to unlock those daily rewards, right? The 70% and the three plus surviving characters. That's what I've been doing lately. I've been doing the autoplay and pray method. The autoplay and pray method doesn't always work. Sometimes it takes 10 runs, sometimes it takes 50 runs, but it is the only alternative. I've already started to see some players doing this, setting a bad team to allow you to beat them up for an easy daily quest, completion. But I wanted to suggest it so that other players could try it out, so that maybe we can make it a little bit easier on ourselves overall. Hopefully the devs will change some of those dailies because they're kind of dumb. Hopefully the devs will also change this game mode because right now it is kind of dumb. Having a team that's best with characters that are being punished by the battlefield effects makes no sense at all. But I will be happy to report that the rewards, as far as the tokens go, seem to be pretty decent. I just spent about 1,000 tokens or 2,000 tokens telling you guys, showing you guys buffs and stuff. But I already have enough, as you can see. I already have over 7,000, so I can already purchase the Soul of the Faltine or the Carbonadium once, and I'll certainly be able to grind up enough to purchase it a second time well before the monthly limit or the entry count is reset for the season. So that's quite nice. I'm happy with that. I just want to see them upgrade the game mode in all the other ways that we talked about in the previous video, and go check that one out if you want to see a high-level critique of the game mode. But yeah, those are my tips for Otherworld Battle. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what your tips are, what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button. It helps out the channel tremendously. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.